Imagine, for a moment, that the world around you is not a fixed, immutable reality, but a mirror reflecting the contents of your innermost consciousness. What if, instead of being subject to external forces, you are the very cause behind every effect, the architect of your experience, the author of your destiny? This is the essential message behind Neville Goddard's timeless work, At Your Command. At its core, this philosophy invites us to see life not as a series of random events, but as a magnificent tapestry woven from the threads of our own assumptions, beliefs, and inner conversations. From the very beginning, Goddard urges us to reconsider the nature of God, not as a distant external deity, but as the I am within each of us. Whenever you say, I am, you are invoking the creative power that shapes your world. This is not a casual statement, but a declaration of being. Whatever follows I am is set into motion, gathering substance and form in your life. When you say, I am healthy, or I am wealthy, or even, I am unloved, you are impressing your subconscious mind with an assumption that will, inevitably, find expression in your reality. But how does this process work? How can a simple thought, a quiet assumption, have the power to move mountains in the external world? The answer lies in the unity of consciousness and its creative law. According to Neville, consciousness is the one and only reality. The world is simply consciousness objectified. In every moment, you are either accepting or rejecting ideas, and those ideas, once accepted as true, begin to manifest as your experience. This is why it is so crucial to become aware of your inner dialogue, the thoughts you habitually entertain, the stories you tell yourself, and the assumptions you make about life, people, and circumstances all contribute to the unfolding drama of your life. If you believe yourself to be limited, unworthy, or unlucky, the world will confirm these beliefs. But if you dare to assume the best about yourself and your situation, if you persist in that assumption, reality must conform. The law is infallible. Neville teaches that every command you give to your subconscious mind is carried out with absolute obedience. Your desires, when felt as real and accepted with conviction, set the creative process in motion. This is not wishful thinking or idle daydreaming. It is a deliberate act of faith, a conscious choice to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. When you persist in that feeling, regardless of outward appearances, you will see the evidence appear in your world. You may wonder then how to begin applying this principle in your own life. The first step is to identify what you truly desire, not what you think you should want or what others expect of you, but what your heart genuinely yearns for. Once you are clear about your desire, you must bring it into the present tense. Instead of longing for a future event, you imagine that your desire is already fulfilled. You feel the reality of it, here and now, as vividly and sincerely as possible. This act of imaginative feeling is the key to manifestation. It is not enough to simply think about your desire. You must feel it as though it were already true. This can be done through visualization, affirmations, or simply by dwelling in the feeling of accomplishment or satisfaction. The important thing is to let go of doubt and to persist in your assumption, even when the outer world seems unchanged. Doubt and fear are the great enemies of creation. They arise when you allow appearances to dictate your beliefs, rather than trusting in the unseen power within. Neville reminds us that faith is loyalty to the unseen reality, to the vision you hold in your mind, even when all evidence seems to contradict it. When you persist in your assumption, faith will bridge the gap between the unseen and the seen, between imagination and manifestation. Consider, for example, the power of assuming wealth. If you desire abundance, you must begin by feeling wealthy, regardless of your current financial situation. You refuse to dwell on lack or limitation. Instead, you cultivate a sense of gratitude and sufficiency, knowing that your assumption is setting the law in motion. Over time, as you remain faithful to this feeling, opportunities, ideas, and resources will begin to flow into your experience. The world must reorganize itself to reflect your new state of consciousness. The same principle applies to health, relationships, success, and every area of life. Whatever you assume to be true, your subconscious mind accepts and brings forth as reality. This is the law. As within, so without. The outer world is simply a reflection of your inner state. But what about the obstacles we encounter? What about the persistent challenges that seem to defy our efforts? Neville teaches that every problem is simply the result of a previous assumption. If you find yourself facing difficulties, it is not a punishment or a random misfortune, but an opportunity to change your mind, to adopt a new assumption, and to persist until the new reality takes shape. This process requires discipline and self-awareness. It means paying attention to your habitual thoughts, catching yourself when you fall into old patterns of negativity or doubt, and gently redirecting your attention to your desired state. It is not a one-time event, but a daily practice, a continual choosing of the highest and best for yourself. Neville also emphasizes the importance of forgiveness, not just for others, but for yourself. Whenever you find yourself dwelling on past mistakes or failures, you are reinforcing the assumption that you are flawed or unworthy. Instead, you are called to forgive, to let go of the old story, and to assume a new identity. In doing so, you free yourself from the chains of the past and open yourself to a brighter, more expansive future. This teaching is both liberating and empowering. It means that you are not a victim of circumstances, but a creator of your reality. You have the power to change your life by changing your assumptions. The world is at your command, waiting to reflect your deepest convictions. Of course, this does not mean that life will always be free of challenges, or that every desire will manifest instantly. There is a gestation period, a time between planting the seed of assumption and harvesting the fruit. During this period, patience and persistence are required. You must remain faithful to your vision, undisturbed by appearances, and trust that the law is working perfectly. If you find yourself growing weary, remember that every great achievement begins as a simple assumption, a quiet conviction in the face of doubt. The pioneers, inventors, and visionaries of history all began with an idea, a belief in something unseen. They persisted, despite setbacks and skepticism, until their vision became reality. You have that same creative power within you. To make this practical, begin each day by affirming your desired state. As you wake in the morning, before the world intrudes, take a few moments to declare, "I am," followed by your chosen assumption. Feel it deeply, as though it were already true. Throughout the day, when doubts arise, gently remind yourself of your command. Persist in the feeling, and watch as your world begins to change. At night, as you drift into sleep, review the events of the day. Imagine that everything unfolded exactly as you wished. Replay the scenes in your mind, but this time, see them as you desire them to be. This practice, known as revision, allows you to impress new assumptions upon your subconscious mind, rewriting the story of your life. Over time, you will notice subtle changes in your experience. Opportunities will arise, relationships will improve, and solutions will present themselves. The world will reflect your new state of consciousness, often in ways that seem miraculous. But remember, the miracle is not in the event itself, but in your ability to command reality through the power of assumption. Neville's message is simple, yet profound. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, persist in that assumption, and the world will respond. You are not separate from the creative power of the universe. You are its expression. Every desire, every dream, is a call to greater awareness of your true nature. As you continue on this journey, you may encounter moments of doubt or discouragement. This is natural. The old patterns of thought may try to reassert themselves, tempting you to believe in limitation or lack. When this happens, do not condemn yourself. Simply return to your command. Remember that you have the power to choose your assumptions, to direct your attention, and to shape your reality. The world is a mirror, faithfully reflecting the contents of your mind. If you wish to change the reflection, you must first change the image you hold within. This requires courage, imagination, and faith. But the rewards are immeasurable. As you master this principle, you will discover a sense of freedom and joy that transcends circumstance. You will realize that you are, indeed, the master of your fate, the captain of your soul. In the end, At Your Command is more than a philosophy. It is a way of life. It invites you to step into your true power, to claim your birthright as a creator, and to live with purpose, passion, and conviction. The world awaits your command. What will you choose to assume? What reality will you dare to create? Begin today. Take a moment to reflect on your deepest desires. What do you want to experience, to achieve, to become? Allow yourself to feel the reality of your wish fulfilled. Declare it boldly, I am. Fill in the blank with your chosen state. Persist in that feeling, regardless of appearances. Trust that the law is working, that your command is being carried out. As you do this, you will find that life becomes a grand adventure, a journey of self-discovery and creation. Challenges become opportunities, setbacks become stepping stones, and every moment becomes a chance to express the fullness of your being. In this new understanding, you are no longer a passive observer, but an active participant in the unfolding story of your life. You are the author, the director, the actor, and the audience. Every thought, every feeling is a brushstroke on the canvas of reality. So, take up the brush, paint a masterpiece, assume the best, expect the best, and watch as the world responds. At your command, everything is possible. The power is within you, waiting to be awakened. Dare to imagine, dare to believe, and dare to live as though your wish is already fulfilled. This is the secret, the law, and the promise of At Your Command.